Well, good morning, everyone. We're looking a little bit light today. I think it's that time of the year. People are busy campaigning and stuff like that. So welcome to the Regional Transport Committee. Bit of an echo there. All right. For the 8th of September, 9:30. Start off with a karakia from Brooke.
Whakataka te hau ki te uru, whakataka te hau ki te tonga, ki mā kina kina ki uta, ki mā taratara ki tai, ehe aka ana te atakura, he teo, he hoka, he hohu, te hei mauri ora.
Thank you, Brooke. Apologies. So we've got apologies from Angela O'Leary, lateness from Nia Lynn. This is online. We've got Hamish online. Who else have we got? Apology from Maxine. Oh, yeah, it's on here. Then Euston, and that seems to be it. So can I have a mover and a second that they be accepted? Thanks, Rodney. Second, Kevin. All those in favour? Those against? Carried. Confirmation of the agenda. With a mover and a second that's moved. Thanks, Claire. Seconder. Thanks, Andrea. All those in favour? Those against? Carried. Okay, disclosures of interest on the agenda today. Any? Oh, sorry. Here's Mayor Lynn. Morning, Mayor Lynn. No worries. We only just started, so. And disclosures of interest. Any disclosures of interest on the agenda today? Okay, Brooke, health and safety. Do you want to take through any health and safety for us?
Morning, everyone. In the event of emergency, please exit through the double doors out to the right. In the event of fire, we need to cross at the lights and meet across the park, across the road. If there are blue lights flashing, we will assist you into the councillor's lounge. In any other emergency, just I think everyone knows what to do. There is a in reception, isn't it? And there's a defibrillator in reception.
Thanks, Brooke. Okay, confirmation of the agenda. Can I have someone move and second that? That's all right. Thank you, Angela, and the seconder. Thank you, Jeanette. Yep, done that. All those in favour? Those against? Carried. Okay, any general items coming out of the meeting for the 9th of June? Oh, sorry. No, we don't have any public forum. No, so no public forum. So any agenda out of the, that matters arising out of the agenda for the 9th of June? Yep, sorry, Andrew.
I just note that we've got Graham Noble present at the back there, who's going to speak a bit later at our NZTA report around safety cameras.
Yep. Morning, Graham. Welcome. Okay, then if there's nothing, can I have the director's report, please? Oh, mover and a seconder for that. Sorry for the minutes for the 9th of June. Sorry. Ben, like to move it. Cheers. And a seconder. Thanks, Claire. All those in favour? Those against? Carried. Morning, Nigel.
Good morning, Chair. Good morning, committee members. So for the director's report this morning, through the chair, I'll take the report as read, probably just a few items of note. Obviously, last meeting of this triennium, so it's a good opportunity to reflect on the great work that this committee has done over the last 3 years. So I just put a few highlights of what this committee has achieved since coming together in 2023. So you've met, this is the 10th meeting of this committee, and it does not exclude all of the other workshops and other engagements that you've done over that time. So it's represented quite a significant investment of time for committee members. Since then, and the report says, you've received 82 reports and nearly 1,400 pages of material. So quite a significant workload. And today you can add another 8 and 124 pages to that one. So with nearly 1,500 or just over 1,500 pages, that represents quite a significant investment of time for this committee to put into. There's a lot of reading there, a lot of information, and it has made you experts in regional transport. So thank you for all of the work that this committee does to oversee and guide and support the governance and decision making of this committee. So over that time, the committee has seen the development of the Regional Land Transport Plan. Additionally, that was accompanied by supporting the finalisation of the investment through the National Land Transport Fund and all of those activities confirmed in the National Land Transport Programme. It feels like every other month we're asking you to do a submission. There have been numerous submissions to Central Government Transport Policy for MOT and NZTA, including 2 substantial submissions to the development of the Government Policy Statement on Land Transport. As members will be well aware, there's been significant movement in speed management on the regional network, and there have been a number of submissions on speed limit changes and reversals across the region, and continue to do so, which I'll touch on a little bit later. And again, the committee here, as we know, the mandate of this group covers public transport outside of the future-proof area, and there's been quite a lot of support that's been required there, including how we adapt to private share targets, support for advertising on bus backs, and the next item there, not least of which was the establishment of a regional public transport rating model. And again, members were instrumental in supporting that work through the roadshows that went out when Regional Council came around and spoke to your individual committees. So again, thank you very much for the support through that process, which made that possible. And I think this all highlights that there has been a very collective response. So through that collective coordination and advocacy, it's really meant that this region has had a very strong voice on transport matters. And through that work of the committee, you've set us up for success now and into the future. So probably just a good time to reflect and acknowledge work well done. So thank you, committee. And again, through the chair, the next few items all relate to the bus contract renewals work program. So I might just highlight them quickly and take any questions at the end of those. So again, for members that have been following, a fairly significant report on this went through to the Waikato Regional Council meeting on 28th of August, which has been supported and approved. But some of the work that's gone into the bus contract renewals work program to date has included network reviews from across the region. As has been reported to other committees, consultation on that was probably one of our more successful engagements. Regionally, we had more than 1,200 responses. The majority were from Hamilton, 576 from Hamilton, but remarkably, really good representation across the rest of the region too, including 348 from Thames Coromandel and Hauraki, 178 in Raglan, also West Waikato and Waikato, 147 for Matamata Piako, and 100 for North Waikato. So again, really, we've been able to get into the regional networks, talk to communities, and get some excellent feedback that's helped inform that process. Again, supporting the work that's going into the BCR has been a Section 17A review, and for those who have been through these before, it's a review of the form and function of how public transport services are being delivered. That was undertaken by an independent party. My understanding is that that work is now done, and we're just in the final stages of reviewing the output of that work. But what that will help do is inform the tender structure and the documentation that goes into the process. Additionally, there's been a significant amount of work being done on supporting the transition to zero emission buses with the completion of a technical implementation plan and what that means in terms of helping to develop a roadmap for that into the future. And again, the output of that work will be used to inform the content of tender documentation. Additionally, a technical element of that work is a unit structure review. It was reported through to the Future Proof Public Transport Subcommittee, where the division of public transport services is broken down into units. We just needed to update that again to support the tender documentation that went through. And again, that was supported at the Regional Council meeting on 28th of August. And I won't go into that paper, but it is linked digitally in this report if you were interested to go and read further. And again, supporting that, we've got the transport procurement strategy and the requirement to update that. So those are probably all the elements in the director's report related to the bus contract renewals process. Through the chair, happy to take any questions on that now.
Nigel, clear.
Yes, thank you. Is that right? Yeah, cool. Look, Nigel, I just wanted to take the opportunity to comment on the zero emission buses because Waipa District benefited from those, and we've seen a huge increase in the number of patrons on those buses. I mean, obviously, it's not just about the electric buses; it's about the frequency of services as well. But I just want to acknowledge the work of your staff, your team, because I think it's made a really big difference, and I think we're seeing behaviour change in the direction that we were hoping. Yeah, more people be using it, and that. So it's really encouraging. Just want to say congratulations. It's a great outcome.
Yeah, any other questions for Nigel? Yeah, Merlin.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Nigel. Compliments on the work that's gone into this. Not quite sure how to frame this, but for us, the elephant in the room really is the extraordinary change from the original investment program to what we ended up with after the government asked us to rewrite the NLTP. Now, you've touched on it on page 22. The committee demonstrated great unity in the preparation of the plan, including a focus on ensuring there was distributed regional investment targeted to areas that had the most need. And that really highlights the work that we had done and the decisions that were made by this committee. We go to page 23 and we look at number 9. This triennium has seen significant political change, and it has been necessary to remain agile to respond to external changes. The blunt reality of that is that the investment plan that we had worked out as a committee was completely turned upside down as far as Thames Coromandel is concerned. We had over $800 million in there, and it was all taken away, every dollar. Is the report strong enough in shining a light on that massive U-turn and that massive change in the decisions that this committee had made and rewritten by the NLTP? So, as I said, I don't quite know how to frame it, and it's a question, and you might say, well, that's as much as we can do, or that's as strong as we can go, but I think it needed to be raised because it had a massive effect on our district. And I'd be interested in your thoughts on it.
Thank you, Mayor Salt. Yeah, through the chair. Look, you can always continue to advocate further, I think, through that process. And we did see, as you rightly noted, quite a significant change between what was submitted in the RLTP and what was confirmed in the National Land Transport Programme. I think what that highlights is the process that we follow does continue to have room for improvement. We know that we put our best foot forward through the development of the plan, and then we know that as the National Land Transport Programme is developed, there are considerations that come through at that national level and how we might be able to, in the future, I guess, continue to advocate and raise that regional profile for those investment activities. Again, we can continue to use this forum here to advocate for that change. I probably can't speak too far for how much we might be able to influence that process, knowing that NZTA has the discretion about how they do that. So whilst I absolutely acknowledge we saw a massive reduction and quite a significant change in that process, I think we can only just continue to bring our advocacy to that, and where possible, as we influence the development of the next NLTP, make sure that we strengthen that regional voice. I don't want to put Andrew on the spot, but I don't know if there's any opportunity to respond to that too, Andrew.
Yeah, I'd add to that, and thanks, Mayor Len, for raising it. I'd see it more as a reflection rather than necessarily needing to change anything in Nigel. But I think there will be another government policy statement review, and it all comes down to who is elected into government as the flavour of that government policy statement at the time, which will then put down to the land transport program. And this was a big change. Right? So those that are around the table, like RTC, from the current one, finds there'll be better preparation, better ability to have stations ahead of that. Well, I think it's a learn.
Thanks, Andrew, and thanks, Nigel. And through the chair, I understand that there are limits to what we can do, what we can influence. As you say, we can put our best foot forward, but if the political will is to do something different, then it's kind of out of our hands. But anyway, I just wanted to raise that, make sure that there was a comment on it, and I'll leave it there. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Liam. Yep.
So just to add to this, and Nigel's comment about process improvement is at a national level. So all regional councils are working to make sure that we are very clear to government about what's important within the RLTP process, and that the work that every regional transport committee does across the country is heard by government. So how the parties interact with each other at the level that occurs from the work that you do as a committee is something that we're working really hard on at the moment to make sure that in the next round and in future rounds that's heard and responded to by government pretty clearly.
I'd note as well that we did invite a lot of feedback on the process of forming the NLTP, and I have seen the feedback that has come in externally be utilised to inform the thinking into the program for next time.
So I was going to weigh into this at the end of the meeting, but now that it's kind of been brought up, I think it's appropriate that I'd just like to say that, you know, under the circumstances for this new committee that came in with the disasters that happened virtually just before this committee was created, plus being a whole lot of new councillors on this committee and stuff like that, I think we've done extremely well. And I also like to thank the staff, because I know the GPS came out late. There was so many stuff that happened in this, you know, this last 3 years that, you know, it kind of became the cart behind the horse and then the horse in front of the cart, you know, so we had to wait until one was coming through to do that. And I do hear you loud and clear, Len, and you've been very vocal and passionate about that right the way through on what. But then I I'm a bit of a person that looks at the glass half full rather than half empty, and I think we have achieved a lot in our district when you look at what we had came into and what we had to do with the cuts in everything, both in walking, cycling, you know, safety, all those things that we had on our priority list right at the beginning when we first started this MPL. So yeah, I'd just like to, especially to Phil and Nigel and the team in the Transport Committee. There's been a lot to do, emissions free, you know, the rebranding, we've got contracts coming up. There's just been, you know, it's just been one thing after another that the staff have had to tackle and try to tackle without knowing the full story at that. So yeah, I just thought I'd just say that. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. And look, I know that the staff have worked extremely hard, and I thank and congratulate them for that. And as we know, some things are just outside of our control. If there's a political will, then staff have to respond accordingly. So, but they've done a fantastic job in difficult circumstances. So I share your thanks and congratulations. So thank you.
Thanks, Stephen. Okay, if there's no other questions, can I have a mover in this? Oh, is there a couple more? Sorry.
Yeah, and I can go through those fairly quickly, Chair. So probably just noting, again, related somewhat to the bus contract renewals process, there is a current review of the what is the Public Transport Procurement Procedures Manual, PTPPM. So it notes here that staff were reviewing the consultation document in order to put through a technical submission. So our operations team have been able to review that and ensure that what is proposed supports the development of an updated procurement strategy. And so a letter of support was submitted to NZTA last Thursday on the 4th. Ahead of the close of the consultation period. Probably just the final thing to note there, Chair and Committee, is there's a lot of work coming up in the next trinium too. So for those who come back and join the Regional Transport Committee, you can look forward to developing another Regional Land Transport Plan, as well as a Regional Public Transport Plan. We'll update and review the Regional Road Safety Strategy. And again, the work of the bus contract renewal process will continue. We'll go out for tendering for those public transport services, and supporting, well, alongside that, we'll also be rolling out the national ticketing system into the Waikato, or ticketing solution, I should say. And finally, again, the ongoing work to support the evolution of Te Huia as it goes. So those are just the things that we know about. And as we know, things will change and come up. But just, again, thank you very much for the work of this committee. And I'll probably leave it there, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Nigel. No more questions for those last 2 points? Okay, can I have a mover and a second that director's report you received, please? Thanks, Claire. Second by Rodney. All those in favour? Wait, those against? Carried. Thank you, Nigel.
Thank you.
So we've got Mayor Len, if you don't mind, just a quick update on the new ferry for the summer, heading from Thames to Auckland.
Yes, absolutely. So I'm very excited about this. Details are still coming in, but it kicks off on the 24th of October. And this is something that's been a collaboration between our economic development team, the Coromandel and Colville Business Association, who have been really active in advocating for the Blue Highway solution and re-establishment of the ferry service from just south of Coromandel, Hannaford's Wharf, through to Auckland. Fuller's used to do it. Fuller's have been quite clear that they don't have capacity. They've got staffing issues, or they're not the easiest team to deal with because the lack of support from Fuller's has been frustrating. The Explore group are very, very experienced. They've come in and said, look, you know, we want to run a trial. And they've confirmed that they're going ahead with that. So it'll be a $135 return, and it's aimed at the tourism market. It's aimed at people that want to get out and explore the Gulf and take a trip from Auckland to Coromandel and back again, and just take their time and enjoy the experience. So we're really excited about it. We're really thrilled, and we look forward to it happening. So I'm happy to take it. All the details are still being worked out on this. So, but I'm happy to take any questions if that's okay with you, Mr. Chair.
So what this initiative, was that put forward from the Thames Coromandel Council, that, or, you know, who's moved it forward from, you know?
Yeah, so we had been quite public in our comms and our discussions with local operators or ferry operators and with the local business association that we wanted to see this happen and we were ready to support it. But the business association in Coromandel initially set up the contacts with a local guy called Graham Osborne, and he is connected with the Explore group. And so we had a meeting about 6 weeks ago, and they've moved fairly fast. They haven't done a formal business plan. They've just said, look, we want to run a trial. We can do it. We've got the capacity. We've got the ferries. We just want to run a trial and see how people respond. So the next thing that we need to do is make sure that we get that trial supported. And our economic development team and our comms teams are already right behind it. They're pumping out the comms at the moment so that people are aware of it and start buying tickets, essentially.
Awesome.
So that's the, I'll be buying a ticket and doing the trip because, last time I did that trip was on the Endeavour during Tuia 250. That's how old I am.
How long's the actual trip over there?
It's about 2 hours.
Oh, right.
Yeah. 2.5 hours. And it's absolutely beautiful, glorious trip. And you come in the back of Waiheke, Manawa Bay, and then up to Auckland. So the views and it's just spectacular. Can't say enough about it. Am I selling it? But yeah, you should.
Oh, thanks, Len, for
Yeah.
that update.
Yeah,
Very, very exciting
yeah, it is.
for your area. Okay, we've got the next item, 7.2, variation to the Waikato Regional Land Transport Plan for Matamata level crossing. And we've got Nigel and we've got Susan online. Is that right? Correct?
Yes, correct.
Yep.
Thank you, Chair. We don't often bring variations to the RLTP through to committee. We have one for you this morning. Now, members will be aware Mayor Wilcott actually raised this as an issue for us in March, following the tragic loss of life of a pedestrian in Matamata at the time. And there is an increased need, and this was not the first incident, unfortunately. There have been others, so the safety issue there is very real. And so what's been required is to develop an intervention to improve safety, rail safety in Matamata Piako, or Matamata specifically. So the variation in front of you here is a request to include a new activity in the RLTP, a pedestrian level rail crossing, the details of which are included in the background and the scope of work, but effectively it's to support the construction of a new level railway crossing that will be positioned midway along Firth Street and State Highway 27 in Matamata. So the request through this variation acknowledges that cost estimates for development of that facility could be in the range of $800,000 to $1 million, and that includes both local share NZTA subsidy and potentially Kiwirail contributions. But what is being sought through this variation is an initial investment of $100,000 within this financial year to complete a feasibility study, prepare detailed design and provide the necessary information required to support the Kiwirail approval process. It should be noted that construction isn't slated for development until the 2027 NLTP, so this activity will be revisited in the update and development of the next Regional Land Transport Plan. And so this just highlights an ongoing and perennial safety issue, and certainly when this activity was sent out to RAG members, have it on good authority that it's been around since some of our technical advisors were students in Matamata at the time. So it's timely that it's being addressed, and so this gives it the absolute best possible chance of proceeding. So it's been assessed against the RLTP. It's considered that it will not negatively jeopardise any other activities that are already confirmed in the plan and augment the safety of the transport network in the region. So again, as the chair noted, staff from Matamata Piako District Council are available online. Susan Kampshoff is with us. And again, my thanks to her and to Barry for developing that work, and happy to take any questions through the chair or direct those to colleagues online or potentially even to Mayor Wilcott.
Questions? Yeah, Rodney.
I'm just curious because I wasn't here when it was brought here. Is it like an overbridge or an underpass, or just $1 million seems a lot of money just to walk across the railway line? I know we're wanting to
because
do
they're crossing
something.
the highway as well,
Oh, okay.
potentially. So it's just scoping it out to understand. Yeah, there's only it is a branch line, so a chicane type crossing will be the logical thing through there, because it's not the main trunk line. It is. This is just a preliminary, because we've got fencing. Fencing's been done. Originally, there were no fences. Some fencing is done, but still, people are still crossing fence stops. So this is a long, this is great
Yeah.
if we can get this into the long-term plan now, just as a preliminary process. Don't get it in there, when's it likely to have opportunity to have up as an amendment? The team have done really well. Sorry, Susan and Barry have obviously.
Yes, I mean, it's great to see some safety measures, but kind of a bit like Rodney, the final form might be an overbridge or something. It just seems strange that it's only classed as or envisaged as a level crossing.
No, the 6 trains during the day and 4 at night currently. There's
Doesn't
not enough
worry.
room
Yeah.
on
Oh.
the college side, the over the highway. It's just not the volume to,
Okay.
as much as everyone would like an overpass or an underpass, they are
It's the safest.
significantly more cost.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, right.
land purchases so
Okay. No, thanks.
we have to
Yeah.
take a practical, and that's where the study that's being done, I should speak to it. I have secured a study through Sport NZ with ARIP to really provide the evidence-based analysis of the merit of a crossing. So that's was meant to have started by now, but it's starting in October. So we're sort of getting this in first, but the next study will actually inform us further.
Yeah.
And
Oh, okay. Appreciate
Susan,
that.
have you got something to add?
I was just good morning, everybody. I was just going to add in that, yes, we are still working through the Kiwirail process. We're not, hopefully we don't have to go over and under, but that is quite significant more cost. So probably looking over $3 million if we had to do something like that. But as we talked about, it's quite a constrained environment there. So we are looking to hopefully get the approval to just have we'll still have to have the barriers even for a simple pedestrian level crossing over the railway tracks. It will still have to have the automated the fencing as well, so that the gate shuts automatically. So there is, even that is still going to be a significant cost to councils, and that's why those estimates are higher than you'd probably imagine first up. But there is still going to be a bit of work involved, no matter which way we go. Yeah.
Thank you, Susan. Angela.
Oh yeah, thank you. Yeah, happy to support this as a variation to the RLTP. Yeah, and just really congratulate Mayor Adrian on her advocacy for her local community as well. Just wondering, education about, I know that Kiwirail does do quite a bit of education in schools around, safe crossing, etc. So just wanting to understand that it goes hand in hand with the investment as well.
Yeah, if I just may jump in there too, yes, definitely understand. And we have actually done quite a bit of work with Kiwirail. Was it maybe last month that we went to visit all the schools and handed out, and the staff from Kiwirail, they had to talk to the schools around some of the safe crossing initiatives, and just handed out some educational promotion documentation as well. So yes, definitely take that on board. Yep.
Lisa, you'd like to add?
Yeah, look, I'd just like to add that we do have a team of community liaison, and we're obviously associated with TrackSafe, and we fund TrackSafe for these sorts of things. I've attached a copy of our digital rail safety information to the presentation today, so that everybody has access to it. It's on our website. Plenty of great links there, and our team's happy to accompany anybody out to schools for an educational progress, but happy to continue with that. So any support we can give, we're very happy to.
Thanks, Lisa.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'll just add that because there was no fencing there, people have been crossing informally for generations. And not everybody knows that it's illegal to cross just wherever you live. So now that some fencing there is a need for a additional crossing, especially with the growth on the southeastern side of town, getting across to the college, the intermediate, there's a primary school there, there's another Christian school, and also with the building of the stadium at the college, just that general connectivity for people. There's a dairy on the corner, or a mini mart on the corner, so that's also the nearest place for people to go if they want to buy milk. So it just will add to that overall connectivity for the southern end of town. And if there's no further, I'm happy to move the recommendation, if I could, please.
Yeah, happy to see that.
Thanks,
Yeah,
Angela.
thank you.
So I don't need to read that out for you. The 2 bullet points moved in second. All those in favour?
Aye.
Those against? Carried.
Thank you so much for your support.
Len, did you want to add something? Sorry.
I was just going to make a brilliant speech in support of Mayor Adrian and the initiative and Kiwirail and
Sorry.
then I was going to move it, but everybody and I couldn't even second it, so everyone jumped in ahead of me.
Yeah.
But no, happy to support it.
Yeah, I guess the key to this and getting this to this point is the collaboration with the stakeholders, with NZTA and Kiwirail. You know, that's the key part of this is relationships, right?
Thanks. Okay, we've got item 7.3, which is road safety report. We've got Kendra. Is it? Good morning, Kendra and Nigel.
Morning. Good morning, Chair, committee members. I'm here to speak about the road safety report. Through the chair, I take the contents of as read. There are a few items in the report that I'd like to highlight for the committee. As you are likely aware, the Waikato region has been and continues to be overrepresented in New Zealand in fatality statistics. We have approximately 10% of the country's population, but 20% of the nation's deaths. This report outlines the current trends and highlights measures that we are implementing in order to improve road safety in our region. In this report, you will see there were 39 road fatalities. This is year to date, January up until 20th of August. This is comparable to the 5-year average of 38, and it was also the same number as last year. The national trend is similar, 196 year to date deaths compared to 199 average over the past 5 years. So unfortunately, that number is not moving. I want to point out graphs 3 and 4 that were added just to provide some context for New Zealand as compared with other developed countries around the world. Graph 4 illustrates road fatalities per billion vehicle kilometers traveled, and you can see that New Zealand is among the 5 highest in the world. So we have much work to do. Countries such as Norway and Sweden have implemented the safe system approach for many years, and you'll see there at the bottom of the chart, which shows the success of that system. I believe my colleague Brian Sherritt gave a presentation on the safe system approach after your last meeting. In terms of speed limit update, you'll see a chart listed below number 21 in the report that highlights the outcomes. There were proposed speed limit reversals, and then it went out to public consultation. And after that consultation, there were some changes. So you'll see that, and those were effective on 1st of July. There is another speed limit review that has gone out for public consultation. It is now open until 3rd of October, and that is looking at parts of some Waikato state highways, which is State Highway 25, 2, 27, 29, and 21. And so our staff are currently preparing a submission, and that will be shared in due course. I'd also like to share our Young Road Users Education Program. Reuben the Safety Bear has just gone through a comprehensive update and refresh. This program's been in place since the 1990s, reaching thousands of school children around the Waikato, and we need to keep evolving with the times. So our site has been totally overhauled. It has interactive games and meets the needs of our tech-savvy new generation to engage in the site. And we're sending out messaging to parents and children about that. I also want to share, you may be familiar with Fleet Day, which is the largest fleet management conference in Australasia. This was held on 30th of July at Mystery Creek, and over 1,500 people were in attendance. You may know WRC started the conference many years ago. It's now run by eRoad, with us as a major sponsor. And we had really great engagement and interest at the stand, interest in road safety, public transport, but also people engaging with us about environmental concerns and even job seekers wanting to know how to work at council. So really successful day for us. My colleague Brian Sherritt, he presented a talk about the safe system, road safety for fleet managers, which highlighted the need for fleet safety to look more at the holistic picture rather than often focusing just on the driver. And his presentation is included in the appendix if you'd like to look at that further. So finally, just in terms of upcoming priorities, on the 1st of October, we have the Regional Road Safety Forum. We will be continuing to focus on submissions regarding speed limits, We're having a look at the staffing of our Reuben program so that we can expand our coverage to areas like the Coromandel and Topal where we haven't been in quite a while. We're sponsoring Students Against Dangerous Driving, the Waikato Regional Workshop, which is coming up next year in March, and that'll be in Karapiro. And finally, we're working on a refresh of the road strategy, and that will be ready to share with you in early 2026. We currently have a strategy that provides a strategic direction for 2020 to 2030, and then within that, it has a 4-year strategic embedded plan, and that needs to be updated as that goes through 2024. So we will keep you involved as that evolves into the new year. And that's all for me. Thank you, Chair. I'm happy to take questions at this time.
Gillian?
Thank you, Kendra. Comprehensive report, well done.
Thank you.
And you touched on the existing presenters are unable to do overnight stays, limiting Reuben's reach to locations less than a 1.5 hour drive from Hamilton. Is that a budgetary thing or limitations with the people who are doing the presentation?
Yep, through the chair. It's both. Yep. So our current staff are unable to go away because of personal commitments, and we only have 2 Reuben presenters, and they both need to go out together at the same time. So that's why we're looking to see if we can change our staffing so that we can have the ability for different presenters that have that flexibility to go out.
We would welcome that, but
Yeah.
obviously it's a little bit further away. But
Yeah.
look forward to that.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So our current presenters have to get the presentations and be back in a day, but we'd like to do like a nice road trip,
Absolutely.
up through the Coromandel and reach all those schools. So
You could do a
definitely, yeah.
combined
high
ferry trip
priority.
as well. So.
Yeah, there you go.
All right. Thank you, Kendra.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks. Any other questions for Kendra? Just kind of got one. I noticed that the female deaths had doubled from last year, and then also the most motorbike deaths had halved from last year. Is that because all the new medium barriers? Like, have we got statistics on, those medium barriers? Because I noticed, all that big work program from Kiwirail to Wairuru, there was a lot of medium barriers put in. Is that kind of any statistics on what's hit them and what it's deterred on deaths, or whether it has contributed to, why is the female death, is there more females driving? I just kind of wondered because it was quite a big jump.
Don't know if you've got any further stats, but I mean, we can bring back some more to this meeting. I note and it's the comment there around the Highway 1 Rangariri Waikato section, 30% reduction, and the medium barriers and the Cambridge section and State Highway 129 were struck 71 times between 1 July, 30 June over a 1-year period, 24 to 25, and we do estimate one life and then saved every day by a wire rope.
It's interesting there, and also just even with the new highway virtually from Cambridge to Auckland, how many deaths are on that now with any accidents with the 2-lane highway compared to before it was constructed would be quite good as a statistic to have as well. Okay, there's no more questions, and we've got that the road safety report be received. Can I have a mover and a seconder for that, please? Thank you, Claire, and a second. Thanks, Jeanette. All those in favour? Those against? Carried. Thank you, Kendra. So we'll go on to the next item if that's okay, because we're still running a little bit early. We've got, is that okay, LJ? Yep. So we've got 7.4 Kiwirail electrification. We've got Walter and Lisa. If you don't mind. Morning, Walter. So if you just press the red, yeah, so it goes red. I think it's the right-hand side. Other side.
Oh,
That's it.
Good morning, everyone.
You can stay there, Lisa, if you want. You don't have to go down there. Keeping company support.
How much time have I?
As much time as you want.
Okay,
Yep.
right here. We'll click through it. I'm sure there'll be some discussion points either as we go or at the end. We've been working on a electrification business case. As you're aware, we've spoken once before at this meeting. If you move on to the next slide. Kiwirail has a target to reduce its emissions by 40% by 2035. And the key drivers for that are obviously the environmental ones, but also we're seeing an increasing number of customers who are wanting a decarbonised freight supply solution. So we're responding to that. And rail is already inherently more efficient than say truck, using or producing way less emissions. Go to the next slide. So a couple of years ago, we received some funding to investigate electrification of the Golden Triangle. And there was a prior piece of work which looked at how you decarbonise all the railway network throughout New Zealand. But we discovered through that bit of work that focusing on the Golden Triangle, which is our busiest part of the network, would obviously yield the biggest benefits and the earliest returns on any investment into decarbonisation. So that's why we're focusing on that area. The other thing is we identified that electrification is the way to go. So there's lots of other decarbonisation options, but electrification is by far the best. So that's been re-cemented through the work that we're doing at the moment. Go to the next slide. This is the process we've been going through. It's following the Better Business Case model with the 5 cases. But the big chunky bits of that is looking at what are the freight demands, and we've run a whole bunch of different scenarios around that. We've done a lot of work around a concept of operations, which is the ConOps, and the timetable scenarios. And what might be of interest for this committee is that we've also put in possible passenger scenarios. So we're looking at all different options. And one of the main reveals out of that is that the network has a lot of capacity that can be utilised today, so without much more investment in the infrastructure. So things like the single line section through the Whangamarino wetland, for example, with some minor enhancements to the signalling, you wouldn't need to double track all that way to create even more capacity than it's got at the moment. We've looked really carefully at the rolling stock duty cycles of both the wagons and the locomotives. So different electrification options has longer dwell time. So if you've got a locomotive that needs to sit around for hours and hours to charge versus other decarbonisation options where you can basically arrive a train and hook it on the next train and depart straight away. So a lot of complicated work undertaken there. There's of course infrastructure requirements that go with some of the volume scenarios, as well as introducing electrification. So things like power supply feeds, installing poles, charging facilities and terminals, all those bits and pieces. Then a lot of cost estimations, and then the second to last box there is where we've sort of been mashing it all together and trying to analyse what is the best options and try and get down to a preferred option, which I'll sort of talk about a strong option that we're honing in on at the moment. And then of course the final phase is producing a business case. Move on to the next slide. So this is the sort of one of the key options that we're investigating at the moment. It's a hybrid locomotive which runs on overhead wires when they're available, and then runs on battery power when there's no overhead wires. So a lot of work in the business case has been looking at what size of batteries and how much transformer equipment can you put on a locomotive and optimise what's best for our network. So that's been a big bit of work that's been undertaken. And you'll see that the above the locomotive there's a thing called a pantograph. That's what takes the power off the hot wire, and then that would retract down when it's not being used. So it's a hybrid locomotive. Move to the next slide. This is our current network that's been electrified with overhead wires, so 25,000 volts. And just briefly describing it, we've got the Auckland Metro network, which comes down as far south as Pukekohe. And then we've got the existing overhead system between Te Rapa and Palmerston North. So there's a gap between Te Rapa and Pukekohe. And of course, there's nothing out towards Tauranga. We go to the next slide. That balancing act with the overhead wires and the battery capacity, that's indicating that it's highly likely that you'll need to put overhead wires for the 84 odd kilometres between Pukekohe and Te Rapa under all scenarios. So it's almost at the no-brainer territory, as that's what we'll be recommending takes place. And then depending on the battery capacity, we might need to put some overhead wires out towards Tauranga to get the range required out there. But we're endeavouring to minimise the amount of overhead as much as possible. And the reason of that is it's very, very expensive to put the poles up, but also when you put overhead systems in place, you have to upgrade the signalling system to immunise it from the high voltage currents. And as was talked about earlier in the meeting, signalling is very, very expensive. So we're trying to avoid that as much as possible. But if we did have to put electrification on the ECMT, it would be on the western end of the line, because there's a very good grid exit point at Rokura, and that's where we'd probably draw the power from. And that's where the power for the North Island main train existing system already comes from. Go to the next slide. So this is what the end state would look like. So effectively, that gap would be filled in, and there might be a little bit of overhead put on the East Coast main trunk. And so the mode of operation would be a freight train, say if it was travelling from Auckland, would travel down from Auckland using the overhead wire, and when it got to Te Rapa or nearby, would then travel on battery all the way over to Tauranga, and as per the slide with the locomotive, we need about a 4 to 4.5 megawatt hour battery for that. While the train's been stripped and reloaded, which takes 2 to 4 hours, that's the perfect amount of time to actually recharge one of these things so it can then come back. So we're looking at creating a very efficient operation. And that's something I'll also add, like some of the options we've looked at, they'll decarbonise the railway, but they'll add heaps of complexity and costs, and stopping a train midway through a journey to recharge or change batteries or any of those things, it's just not viable. So we're trying to make rail as effective as possible for our customers, and make sure that it's, can shift export products efficiently, et cetera, et cetera. So the last bullet point on there is that there's also metro passenger and regional passenger train opportunities. So a lot of the infrastructure that we're building would have synergies with potential other projects. So it's something that would be good to get a signal from this committee at the appropriate point, that in the next business case phase, we could explore that together. But certainly all the overhead wires and charging and grid exit points, they could all be utilised and get extra benefits.
Question now?
Yeah, just really interested in this as to how, with an overhead wire, what's the clearance? Because obviously if you're looking to put something in with existing infrastructure where there's overbridges already in place, is there enough clearance already in place for overhead wire to go in?
Yeah, certainly anything that's been built in the last sort of 20 years has been future-proof for the potential of electrification. Some of the older infrastructure that will need to be modified, and there's three techniques for that. The first one is you just lower the track, so through civil earthworks you lower the tracks down. The other option is to raise the bridge structure up, and then the other way is you need a certain gap between the wire and the soffit of the bridge, and with technology that day you can really push that a bit harder than we've been able to using older technology. So we'll use every trick of the book to come up with the cheapest and best option. The good thing about it, this route, is that there's not that many overbridges, so yeah, it's a consideration, but it's fairly small beer in the scheme of things.
Yeah, because I guess then it adds to the high, if there's a house being moved or whatever, then that creates its own little dynamic, doesn't it? Not that it's a regular occurrence, but just sort of thinking of the high clearance, it's a fascinating space.
Yeah, so at designated crossing points, you put in a design of the overhead structure so they can be lifted and put back relatively easily. Obviously, turn the power off to do that. The other thing that we've obviously looked at is it's not just bridges. There's other power wires and telecommunications cables. So we counted all of them up and made sure that we're counted for moving them or relocating them.
It's way more complex than what people sometimes think, when you've got a bigger picture. It's quite fascinating.
Thanks, Walter.
Go to the next slide. So one of the benefits of this option that we're looking at closely is that with that one class of locomotive, it can serve all the feeder lines. So the little green asterisks on the diagram there is where we put charging stations. And we've looked at the train lengths and train weights and their required journey speeds and how much power they require, and worked out with one of these locomotives we can run around the entire Golden Triangle. So that solution for the main line, Auckland to Tauranga, can be and should be scaled up for the wider Waikato and Bay of Plenty area. And further to that, we've looked at the entire North Island, and we've got a solution for that as well with this one class of locomotive. And like any industry, if you can standardise on one piece of kit, it sort of simplifies training, inventory, maintenance, and all those things. So while it's a Golden Triangle project, we've been thinking a bit more broadly than that. And then just the last slide coming up, where we're up to. So we're doing the detailed business case at the moment. We're looking to take that through some internal processes before it goes wider. And then we're anticipating that there'll be another business case phase. So we've done a lot of detailed work to absolutely nail down what is the preferred solution. But there's another phase to actually get the implementation funding and do all the planning and take the designs so that they're deconstrained, and all the micro details like overbridges we've fully worked through and costed up. So that's the overview. Happy to take any questions.
Thanks, Walter. Angela.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Yeah, thank you so much for presenting this work today. It's fantastic to have Kiwirail as part of our RTC committee. I just had a question around conversations happening over the kaimais with our colleagues in Bay of Plenty. Have you presented similar material to them, or?
On the 19th of September, we are
Excellent.
we're paying them a visit, yes.
Very good. Yeah, because it's obviously really important that there's synergies there and linked up thinking. Often we hear about the Kaimai Tunnel not having much capacity, etc., etc. And I imagine with electrification coming, that a lot of those constraints would be removed from the fumes, upgrades to signalling. The capacity is maybe underutilised at the moment. Do you see electrification really increasing capacity through the Kaimai Tunnel?
Yeah, the fumes will become a cap. Like there'll come a point where you can't run any more diesel trains, just because even any more freight trains, let alone trains, because the time it takes to clear the fumes. And currently it's just naturally ventilated, so you have to wait for the breeze to blow the fumes out. But even if you put in a ventilation system, by the time you crank up some big fans and basically pump out 9 kilometres of air from a 8-metre diameter tunnel, it takes a fair amount. So you'll hit a cap of the number of trains that you can get through there. So certainly that by electrification, you would remove that constraint. And then some of the capacity work that I talked about earlier, with things like signalling improvements, particularly in loops, to increase loop crossing times and maybe extending loops and putting some more loops in, you would increase the capacity of the entire ECMT. So the Kaimai, you don't need to duplicate it tomorrow or next year. maybe in 100 years' time, if you really run out of capacity. Not with other interventions, you'll be able to resolve that.
Yeah, that was my understanding as well. But often when we bring up the conversation about future passenger rail, people get a bit scared that we're taking capacity away from freight. So good to hear that that isn't the case. And it would be good to get some positive comms out there about, that freight is not in jeopardy, passenger trains running. My next question was around timing. Can you give us any sort of indication around next stages and timing?
Yeah, well, straight up, it's a long lead time type project. So even if we got decision tomorrow, it'd still be years and years to deliver it. As I mentioned earlier, we think that there's another business case phase to really nail down the station funding and go through that process. And then after that, it would be 5-ish years. We've stepped it out. We can still make our 2035 deadline if we keep on moving forward purposely at the moment. But it's all subject to funding, support from lots of stakeholders. So that's what we're working through next.
Okay. And then just obviously within the electrification of the overhead, you've got the battery electric locos as well. So is Kiwirail sort of looking at phasing in those battery electrics, or are they going out to market?
So any new locomotive will be built overseas. New Zealand just doesn't have the design capability, and it's quite a specialist sector to be working in. So we would have to go to market. And the other factor is that any locomotive has to be built especially for New Zealand to suit our particular track gauge, axle weights, clearance envelopes, curves on the network and all those things. So it's not like you can go to a catalogue and go, I'll have one of those things. That'll be a special build, and drawing on, or use the current DM locomotives which are being introduced into the South Island, and some of them will operate in the Waikato Bay of Plenty area, so the new low emission diesel locomotives. What you do is you design a new locomotive, then you build just 2 of them, and then you type test them and make sure they work, and then you batch build the rest from there on in. So yeah, get the first 2 and then iron out the wrinkles and then move it through. And that's one of the reasons why it's a long lead time process. And they'll be built overseas. So even just to ship them takes, nearly 6 months.
No, thank you so much for your presentation today. Appreciate it.
Elaine, did you have a question? Oh, Eugene, yep.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Thanks, great report. The questions were probably very similar to what Angela's just asked around times, etc. So 35 sounds good. Obviously, funding has to be attached with that. So more on just a comment now. So great report. It's good to see what the benefits can come with electrification. You mentioned the Whangamarino, and there's always been talk about having to double track that area and stuff like that. So with electrification and that, and adjustments to timetables, how you can increase that capacity. And so also just not freight, but the massive benefits that can come with passenger rail, obviously to Huia, but what else can come from that? So the Te Rapa to Pukekohe piece is extremely important, and then building on that. So yeah, just great report, and good to see it, and let's keep supporting this.
Thanks for your feedback. Just on the Whangamarino wetland area, we would be recommending that there's a loop in the middle of it. There's two single line sections, so the north and south, and there's a loop in the middle. We'd look to improve that loop and lengthen it slightly, and also change the signalling system so you can do high speed arrivals and departures, and simultaneously a train can be arriving on one side and the other at the same time. So that's the current, I think they're about 1960s signals don't quite allow that at the moment. Yeah.
Elaine.
Thank you. Great report. I'm really looking forward to seeing the business case. Just a question, the overhead wire system looks to me like something that has been used extensively overseas for many years. What's the expected shelf life of that structure and also the locomotives, roughly?
Oh, yeah. Well, the overhead system, that can last 60+ years. So, yeah, very, very long life. Overhead's used extensively overseas, as you say, but we've also had overhead in New Zealand for decades and decades. So we're well experienced of building it, maintaining it, looking after it. And then within that, though, there'll be components that need to be replaced through time. So heavy voltage, switching and all the fuses and things like that, they'll have shorter shelf life, but that's just like any asset. But the fundamental bones will be there for decades and decades. And then the locomotives, you factor on a 30-year design life, and typically you'll have a midlife rebuild. And if you're like Kiwirail has done, we take old locomotives and we go well beyond 30 years. We've got some in our fleet which are 50 years and they'll be replaced just before they turn 60. So,
Thank you. Appreciate that.
I'm just curious, like, because I live in Aotearoa and we've got electrification, but you don't send many electric trains. Why don't they use what they got already? Like, they run out of trains or?
yep. So there's some EF locomotives which were commissioned and built back in the 1980s. Yeah. And then they're just going through a refurbishment process of those locomotives. So you should start to see more and more of them on the network. So they've done the first few batches, and they've upgraded all the technology inside them. So things have obviously moved on since the 1980s. So they put more sophisticated control systems. So they're just doing the shakedown of those and see them out and
I
about.
might see some go through town that are using those
Absolutely.
power ones.
Yep.
And how are we getting the power? Like, is that that was the other bit. That'd be my next question.
Well,
Are you going to cart the coal from the boats down to Huntley to power them up?
so the
Just
actual
curious.
power generation.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's something we've looked into as well. Like, is there going to be enough power, and is it going to be green power? Because what's the point in burning coal just to turn a train wheel? Long story short, the advice we've had from speaking to people in that who look after that sector is that there's quite a bit of renewable generation in the pipeline, and not just at all phases of development. So ranging from idea through to, given the right financial and economic settings, these projects will go. And I think just recently there's been a bit more noise about some of those generation projects going ahead. But in the scheme of things, rail will use less than 1% of New Zealand's power. So while we're a big user, we're a tiny user at the same time. And I'd like to think that you get a lot of productivity from that less than 1% of power that we use.
Hey, Phil.
Yeah, firstly, I'd really like to thank you for coming along today and providing what's been an excellent update. It's a consequence of an enormous amount of work that Kiwirail's been leading really for many, many years to get a space of what this story looks like. I wanted to just talk to the committee about what this opportunity might mean for us in the context of the next regional land transport plan. Because while this is an investment in what appears to be efficiency, it actually has a big impact in terms of decarbonisation for the whole region in terms of our emissions reduction story. There's potentially economic development opportunities that arise from investments like this. And then we've also got the insights around network performance that have come from the work that you've been doing. And I'd like to just plant the seed for the next triennium in terms of the contents of this process and what that might mean for us as a region in terms of our prioritisation, because what has appeared as a single line in terms of electrification is now potentially a significantly wider suite of things that we could look to prioritise and promote in terms of our strategic documents. So I think this is a really big step forward, and it gives us the space to talk within this region, but as noted by Angela, Councillor Strange, the opportunity to work with other regions in this space is equally important. And the stronger that Upper North Island story, the better, I think, in this space too. So just wanted to leave that thought with you all the next couple of years' work.
Yeah, I agree with you, Phil, on that, especially with the next plan coming up, which, virtually is going to be, 26 to 27, 26 to 28, sorry, 25 to 28, wherever it is, so it coincides with your plans of, the next 5 years, but then the deadline of 2035. So I think it's very appropriate, especially for that dense area that's growing, the Golden Triangle, and plus getting freight and also public transport as well. I think it's a huge thing. Yeah, fantastic report. It's opened my eyes up, just with that dual aspects of electric battery, so it saves on those parts that you can't do. The electric, the battery's going to last, and as you say, the unloading and loading, the 4 hours to charge the battery, it's you've gone in depth with it. It's fantastic. So we've any questions? Any more questions? If not, so we've got Eugene as a second, and all those in favour?
Aye.
Those against? Carried. And thanks very much, Walter and Lisa. Great report. Right, we'll break for 10 minutes for Smoko. So we'll be back here at 5 to 11, please. Smoko, yeah.